And there's also this little thing called non-scale victories. And those include things like being able to fit into your pants again and looking darn well better in that shirt than you used to, or getting compliments at church. People saying, "Hey, have you lost weight?" And you can say, "Yes, I have. Thank you for noticing."
Welcome to the 42 Podcast, where we discuss life together, looking for answers to life, the universe, and, well, everything else. Here are your hosts, Rob and Lindsay.
Hello.
Wait, who are you?
It is me. I am back from my voyage.
I thought I fired you.
You can't keep me away. This is too much fun.
No. Yes, it is. Well, good trip?
It was lovely. It was really good. I finished Darth Plagueis, and it was awesome. It was really, really cool. I recommend. And I started, what did I start? Rogue Planet, which was really fun, too.
That one has been recommended to me a couple times. I have not read it yet.
It was cool because you get to see a little bit of the bridge between Phantom Menace and Clone Wars with Anakin. He's 12, and it sort of goes into how could Anakin possibly have become Darth Vader? Like, what is there anything in there that sort of indicates that by experience? And it goes into that, and it's really, really good. It's like unique. I've never read any book like it before as far as concepts go, and it was cool. It was really cool.
See, I'm starting. I've tried to start this 5 or 6 times probably, but I'm reading the James the Fifth series by Nigel Tranter, and it's
What? Is
big.
it fiction or nonfiction?
It's historical fiction. So it runs in that vein of, again, these things happened, but just, we're going to make stories around the main timeline. My dad read Nigel Tranter. He's been recommending it to me for years. He lent me this book, and it's been one of those, it's been sitting on the bookshelf with accusation. So I'm finally getting around to actually truly reading it.
So how many times have you started it and not finished and not continued?
Like 5 or 6.
That doesn't bode well.
It doesn't, but it's an investment, because my Bible is thick, and I go through that thing in every 3 months to a year, depending on my schedule. But this thing is like thick. Like I gotta stack 2 of my Bibles up to make the
well,
the thing
keep me posted, because
it's interesting. I'm a couple chapters in, and it's okay. I like this. I do. It's just it takes a lot to get it rolling. It's one of those kind of reads.
Yeah.
But it's good. It's informative. I was looking up one of the stories that actually happened in the book, and the intersection of history that happens with James III, and so it's neat. And that's also part of the other problem. I'm like, oh, okay, I didn't know about this, and now I'm reading about something else on Wikipedia, and I should be reading the book.
Yeah. Well, good luck with that. Speaking of which, I have my book club recommendation.
Yes?
Okay. The book is called Childhood's End by Arthur C. Clarke.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Let me read you the, let me read you the Goodreads little synopsis.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. The overlords appeared suddenly over every city, intellectually, technologically, and militarily superior to humankind. Benevolent, they made few demands: unify Earth, eliminate poverty, and end war. With little rebellion, humankind agreed, and a golden age began. But at what cost? With the advent of peace, man ceases to strive for creative greatness, and a malaise settles over the human race. To those who resist, it becomes evident that the overlords have an agenda of their own. Duh. As civilization approaches the crossroads, will the overlords spell the end for humankind or the beginning? Sounds good, doesn't it? And it's only 224 pages. It's not long.
So, I remember reading that back in high school.
Oh. Okay.
Well, no, here's the thing. I mean, I read all the classics when I was in 5th grade,
Mm-hmm.
and then moved into sci-fi, moved into those things. H.G. Wells was my introduction to sci-fi. Jules Verne was my introduction into sci-fi, and I went into Arthur C. Clarke. I went into, oh my goodness, I can't remember.
Orson Scott Card?
No, I haven't read any of his.
Oh, you got to read Ender's Game.
Oh, yeah, I did read Ender's Game. Sorry.
Yeah, that's good.
Yes. Which, okay. Ender's Game movie and Ender Game book, yeah, no.
Don't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do it. It just spoils.
Which made me sad.
The story.
Because Harrison Ford.
He was nice to watch, but unfortunately.
But it was just not written well.
Yeah.
The book is so much better.
Ender is too old. Ender's supposed to be like 6 years old.
Yes.
He's really little, and you're supposed to care about that.
Right, and then how even Ender's Game finishes. That whole ending is what made Ender's Game. But, yes, I have read Ender's Game. I'm blanking on who wrote Starship Troopers.
Robert Heinlein?
Yes, Heinlein. I read all of those guys in high school. Yeah.
Cool. Well, if you don't want to read it or want to,
No.
Because
I do want to read it because there's some interesting things in that book.
We might want to revisit those themes.
You were reading through, yes, and you were reading through the description. I'm like, wow, when I think about this, reading that book in high school, going out into the career force, there's some very interesting correlations. Yes, we should talk about it.
Yeah, I'm excited to read it. So I got to track that book down.
I think that's a good pick. So, and if we get anything from our audience, we'll talk about that too. But yeah,
we can fight. We'll fight about it. I'm just kidding. Audience has preference. I'll bow to audience.
Oh
preference.
no. I think we can run them in parallel.
Okay.
I mean, you read through things pretty quick. I'm not that slow at it, so
Yeah. Most things. I mean, Star Wars books I go through in like sometimes less than a week. Sometimes like 3 or 4 days.
That's your candy.
This book, I'm reading Good Calories, Bad Calories by Gary Taubes, which we will get into today because we're talking about weight loss. I've been reading this for a while, and I'm 42 pages in because it's dense. So, plus I'm still reading Star Wars. So, if I just would focus on this, I could probably do better. But I'm not seeming to be willing to give up Star Wars books.
All right, so you kind of brought the opening salvo. We're talking about weight loss this morning, and before we really jump into it, we need to pause and say a few things.
Rules.
Well, not just the rules, but first and foremost, Lindsay and I have been going on weight loss journeys that are separate and unique to us. So what you need to understand is that this is our journeys. This is not what we're recommending. We are not medical professionals, dietitians, nutritionists, or any of those other ists. We are just podcasters.
Yes.
That's it. And I specialize in youth ministry and theology. So don't take our advice. Our conversation is like, hey, this is how you diet. Don't do that. This is not that podcast.
Think for yourself.
Yes, think for yourself. Be unique. And if you are looking at starting your own weight loss journey, talk to your doctor. Talk to a nutritionist. Talk to a specialist about it. Because, hey, everyone is unique. Everyone loses weight in different ways. And
we don't want to get in trouble.
Yeah, that's the upfront disclaimer. Talk to a doctor.
Yes.
All right. Second, yes, ground rules of the conversation.
You don't have to convey numbers if you don't want to.
Yeah, we're not talking numbers because it's impolite to ask a lady what her weight is. And we'll just go with my number is fat.
I only see you from the shoulders up, so you look great to me. I don't know.
I had like a 6-month pregnant belly, roughly. At least that's what I figured on from when Mel had ran ad.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm down to like a 3-month belly.
Oh, congrats.
Is what I figure it as. Again, I can see my toes again. So, but yes, weight loss. We're not talking numbers that we have started at where we're at now. We are talking numbers that we have lost in poundage. And what were some of the other kind of ground rules we said a while ago? Is there anything else I'm missing?
I don't know.
Supportive.
If I'm embarrassed to answer something, I just won't answer you, and you do the same.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and that's
whatever.
We're seeking to have this as a positive, encouraging conversation. You and I have had some conversations about where we're at, but nothing in depth.
Yeah. I read this quote. It's on Pinterest or whatever. One of those inspirational things. It said, being fat is hard. Losing weight is hard. Pick your hard. I'm kind of all or nothing. I'm either in it or I'm not in it. And I haven't been in it for a long time. Actually, back in February, 5 years ago now, I was really overweight. And I was in a car accident with my kids. My Jeep flipped over on its side, and everybody was fine. The kids were totally fine. I had 2 kids in the car with me, because that's all I had at the time. And we got out of the car, and this guy was driving behind me, and he'd pulled over, and he sort of led me to his car, and I sat in the car waiting for police to come. And once I was in the car with my kids in my lap, I passed out, because the next thing I remember, I was being loaded into an ambulance. And I remember thinking that I never want to be that heavy again, where people have to struggle to get me onto a gurney. I want to be healthy, and for my kids and for my own health. And you don't realize how much of a weight it is literally on your mind, on your psyche, on how you perceive yourself. And it's kind of wrapped up in things like depression and compulsive eating and feeling bad for yourself. It's really messy. It's really messy.
Yeah, that we'll have to talk more on it, because you have been doing massive reading and research and deep dives on things with how the body works and calories, and you're doing a huge undertaking in what you have done research wise. Me, I've just kind of camped out on that emotional side. And we'll talk further about that. But yeah, there's a huge side of it of, if you think you're fat, you kind of act like you're fat.
Yes. It's true.
And you just toss the towel in. And I don't want to go too much into that, because that'll play into my story with a bit more. But you started losing weight this year. Why? What precipitated this?
It's been an ongoing struggle, and failure after failure after failure after failure. It has affected my marriage. It's affected my personality, and I guess I just decided that I wanted to change a lot of things about myself. Not just my weight was tied into it, but my activity level, the things that I was interested in, the things I did. wanting to be confident in myself more. So if my husband said, hey, let's go hiking, I didn't dread it or wish I would break an ankle real quick into the hike so I could get out of it, or being able to play with my kids and go swimming and be comfortable on the beach. Hello. So it was kind of real tied into a lot of different things, but a lot of it was emotional and deciding like I've had enough of this, but a lot of it had to do with my marriage and wanting things to be better, and that maybe sort of improving physically would sort of mirror the improvement in our relationship and in my emotional state and being more secure, I guess, with who I am.
Welcome to the first 42 podcast commercial brought to you by you, the listeners. Lindsay and I have been working on this podcast for a while now, and we're enjoying it. We're enjoying the feedback, the interactions we're having with you, our listeners, and we want to continue to grow that. We want to continue to work with you guys and to experience life together with you. So this commercial is primarily aimed at you guys of, hey, be a part of our conversation. Join us in social media. You can find us on Facebook and Twitter at the 42 Podcast. Join us through the email of badtheologyproductions@gmail.com. And all of that can be found in the show notes now. Check out the YouTube channel. Leave some comments up there. Leave a rating and review for us on the podcast app that you use and listen to us with. That helps us not only understand what you're experiencing and engaging with this podcast, that helps us get more ears on this podcast, to get more voices in. And hey, if you want to join us, seriously, if you want to come on our podcast and talk with Lindsay and I, reach out, say hello. We'll say hi back. We'll have you on. And it doesn't take a huge setup to join us on the podcast. So, reach out through social media, get in touch with us, interact, because you are a significant part of everything we're doing. We want to have this as a community that is just exploring life in every way that we can. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being a part of what we're planning, what we're building, what we're doing. You are important to us. Never underestimate that. You, sitting there, I see you. You are important to us. So thank you for putting the time to listen and to join. All right, back to the conversation.
Now, you started all of this back in January.
Well, the tail end of December, because I started logging my weight the end of December, like December 28th or something like that. And, I started off vegan.
Which I commend you for, because I like bacon.
Mm-hmm.
I like steak. I mean, I could not do that.
Yeah, I cut out dairy and meat, and because I was cutting out dairy and meat, I also cut out a ton of carbs, because what are you going to put on your toast if you're not going to put butter on your toast? So I mean, I know there are other things to put butter on your toast, but I liked butter on my toast. Or you can't eat eggs, so that's like. So I think there was a lot of things that were happening at the same time. Not eating carbs, not eating as much in general, because there wasn't as much to eat, as many choices or whatever. And I did some research. I watched a couple documentaries, which I do want to talk about at some point, because I want to talk about how things have changed since then. And some documentaries were sort of leading me to believe that meat is basically the devil. And it was pretty convincing documentary, and there are others like it, kind of by the same folks. So it was a little ethical too. I mean, with factory farming and how terrible and disgusting those procedures are, and how animals live, and so the ethical bit did have a lot to do with it as well, and sort of helped motivate the health aspect of it.
Now, are you still vegan?
No.
Okay. So some of that has changed, but not entirely the ethics concerns that you have. Is that fair to say?
Ethically, I still despise factory farming and think that if there's any way that you can buy local and sort of go look at the places you're getting your food from, and, you know, having your own chickens and doing things yourself as much as possible, I think that helps. So I'm still a little, it makes me sad. Eating animals makes me sad, but at the same time, I am, so.
That's okay. I just, we're exploring, we're asking questions. Is this a good spot to ask? You know, you've been doing this since tail end of December, but January, I'm rounding to the closest start.
Mm-hmm.
How much are you down?
35 pounds.
35?
Yeah.
That's incredible. That's amazing.
It's pretty cool.
That's yeah, it is.
That's cool. Yeah. Thank you.
So you're down 35. This is a curiosity I have, because how I count pounds and how you count pounds may be different.
Mm-hmm.
But how are you counting like the exact poundage? Do you have an official weigh-in day that you're doing?
I weigh myself every morning. I mean, it fluctuates a little bit every day, you know, but in general, like, because I'm nerdy enough to graph, and it's trending down. It's been trending down since January, so if it goes up a little bit, I know it's not the end of the world. There's little fluctuations that happen, but I'm still trending down. So, but I think weighing yourself every day helps take the fear out of weighing yourself, and like, well, yesterday, what did I do that was different than today? Or, you know, I like that.
See, now that's actually a point where I've been undone in the past, is that daily weigh-in, and it's, okay, I didn't lose enough this week, forget it, I'm going to go eat 5 bags of chips, kind of thing. So I've taken a different approach, but we're focusing on you at the moment, so we'll get into that. So you're down 35, you do weigh yourself every day, and you started as a vegan, but now you're doing something that is a little more freeing in what you eat.
Yeah.
But being as particular as you can about where you're sourcing your food from. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, we have chickens, and we try to buy local when we can.
Yeah, that's something that we even try to do here. Is, as much as we can, we try to buy local. We try.
So, all right. I'm just going to get this out now, get it out of the way.
Yep.
But, so the documentary that I watched that sort of freaked me out about meat was called What the Health, which is on Netflix. And I sent a message to my parents, like, you guys have to watch this movie, because I can't believe that the meat industry is getting away with this. And then there's a couple other documentaries by this same guy. His name's Kip Anderson. And it sort of all points in the same direction, that meat is really bad. Cowspiracy actually was a really good movie. I just don't know. I haven't done the research sort of verifying that stuff, but talking about the link between the meat industry and global warming, which was very interesting. But I have since then done research on the science of What the Health, and there are many articles citing that the science that he used was incomplete and misguiding. There's a vegan website called vegan.com. A woman wrote an article titled "A Vegan Dietitian Reviews What the Health," and basically she says that Kip Anderson is he's an animal rights activist, and that motivation colors the way he presents information. So I decided to, I wanted to know more, because how the heck am I supposed to, what do I do? How do I live? What do I eat? So I watched this documentary it's actually called Fat, a documentary. It's on Prime, and it's really, really interesting, and basically says pretty much exactly the opposite, that dietary fat is not at all bad for you, and it proceeds to present a case for why that would be. And in the book, there's a guy named Gary Taubes who he's an investigative journalist, and he wrote a book called Why We Get Fat and What to Do About It, which I highly recommend. And he also wrote this huge, gigantic book called Good Calories, Bad Calories. And I guess my point here is that we got to do the research. Just because something sounds good and logical or uses sort of fear to try to bring a point doesn't mean that you shouldn't then go look at those claims and see if they're true or not before you do something as dramatic as completely change your lifestyle and tell other people to change their lifestyle or change your kids' diets. That's the thing, is like, I have kids, and so I want them to be healthy and not concerned with their weight at all. That's not what I'm saying, but eat right.
Yeah. So I guess I'm going to kind of jump in with this aside of I have no qualms with anyone who has decided to go vegan. Power to you. It is not something I can do. Just I like my meats. I like protein. But the issue that I have seen is kind of this vegan activist who is playing at it from that role of, okay, meat is evil because we don't want to kill fluffy animals. I don't buy that. I grew up, and I've said this in the past, I grew up hunting, and so for me, it's understanding the value of the life that's taken for me to eat. And that's kind of how I've always stepped into documentaries and things like that, where it's okay.
Yeah.
But is it truly the best? And then the flip side to all of this is I kind of have two points I camp on in my head, and they may be contradictory, and we may have to do another podcast to kind of unpack these. But my belief with Genesis and Scripture and the inheriting of the earth for man and how this is ours, and we are to have dominion over it, but also be stewards of it. So, the resources we have. And then the flip side of, well, we have teeth that are omnivore teeth. I'm going to blank on everything I want to say with that, but we have teeth that are meant for plants and teeth that are meant for meat. And if we just camp out on a purely evolutionary scale, if we were meant to eat totally plants, we should have just herbivore teeth. If we were meant to eat total meat, we would have canine teeth, or not canine teeth, but predator teeth. And we have a balance. So, we need a balance in our diet, which is kind of how I look at it. I'm sounding crazy.
Yeah.
So, those are the two things that I look at with the vegan and balancing that side of it of, no, I think we're supposed to have a healthy balance of it. I got picked on because as a teen and a 20-year-old salads, and I did not agree, but now as an adult, I'm like, ooh.
Yeah.
I think I'm okay with salad.
I've never liked salads more than I do right now. I eat salads a lot.
Mel and I had a chance to go out like 2 weeks ago without any kids. And, that happens like once every 5 years. Or at least that's what it feels like. But it was a great salad. It was this grilled chicken with pecan and blue cheese, and I'm very picky. I don't like romaine. I like spinach. So it was a spinach base, and it was a really good salad. It was a simple salad, but it was good. I keep thinking about that salad.
Do you like avocado?
It depends on the application.
Well, I've been, because I don't want to eat meat all the time. I do want to cut back for sure on what it was before, and on dairy too. But what I do is for lunchtime, I make a salad. Basically, it's like chopped peppers, chopped cucumber, and I'll put in like half an avocado and sunflower seeds and balsamic, however you pronounce that, and balsamic. something. And yeah,
we're about to go into needing edited.
And it's really good, and it's because I get tired of lettuce. Lettuce is overrated, but eating all those different peppers and cucumbers, and I put olives in there, and those are all really good fats. The avocado and the olives and the nuts. So you can get fat from your diet without necessarily eating meat because of nuts and avocado and olives and stuff like that,
But those are better fats for the most part.
And see, that's the thing, is that, yeah, okay, so yeah, basically what I'm talking about is a ketogenic diet. That's basically what I'm promoting. But you can be ketogenic without eating pounds of butter wrapped in bacon. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying balanced. You can still have a balanced diet and be ketogenic. But because
so wait, you're saying my butter wrapped bacon diet is not good for me?
I'm saying it's probably exclusively not good for you. But what Gary Taubes is saying is that fat has no bearing at all on your weight gain. No bearing at all. Isn't that weird?
So
it's really weird.
It is thinking about things differently and about what the body processes, what it uses for fuel.
Yes. I think the big question about weight loss is, how does the body actually lose weight? What is happening in your body? I think that's really important, like chemistry and hormones and things like that. And if we can unlock that, which, by the way, there's a couple chapters in here that just in the Why We Get Fat and What to Do About It book, there's a couple chapters in there, at least 2, on biologically what's happening and what foods help that process and what foods severely limit that process. And basically your 2 big demons are sugar and carbohydrates. Okay, I'm going to stop now, but seriously, go get those books because they're really good.
We'll make sure to put links in the show description.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, and I guess that's kind of a good spot to transition a bit into food itself.
Mm-hmm.
Like, as you have been... I'll open with this. When Mel and I got married, one of the things that she was told is, I cannot cook.
You cannot, like you're not able to because you're a man? Or you personally, Rob Cochran, can't... Oops, I'll edit that out. Me personally...
You know what? People have found my social media. Just leave it in. Leave it in. I don't care. We'll cross that bridge if we have to down the road. But anyway, yes, me personally was told by my mother, my sisters, I cannot cook. Okay? My excuse was, well, I know how to cook, but the Boy Scout way, over an open fire. And when I was in Scouts, my troop, we ate like kings. I mean, we would do turkey, like the whole turkey over the campfire, and cinnamon rolls baked in the morning. And we had this whole system, and we knew how to cook outside. We were good at food for camping. We'd show up, and other troops are like, oh, oatmeal packets for 3 days in a row. Yay. And they'd be next to us, and we're roasting turkey, and they're like, can we join you? So, the excuse was, I knew how to cook, but outdoors. I might have burnt macaroni as a young man and figured out that if I burn macaroni on a stove, I'm never in the kitchen.
Yeah, you're no fool.
Yeah, that's the story. So for like the first 10 years of our marriage, Mel just kind of went with that, I don't know how to cook. She started working, and she's been working and doing work in the schools here, and I started cooking. Mm-hmm. I would come home from work, and she would have the dinner about ready to get on the table when I would get home. So I wanted to do the same thing for her. So for the past 3 years, I've been cooking. And what's interesting is when I look at... I have a handful of recipe books. I'm trying to consolidate down to one. When I look at what I cooked before I really intentionally started my weight loss journey, mm-hmm. and what I cooked after, mm-hmm. it's interesting to see how, there are some family favorite recipes, but I've made changes to them that are healthier. There are things that we have done some of it Mel and the kids don't realize I've done with my cooking. But, I mean, thinking about it, it's changed how I cook. It's changed what I make. It's changed what I serve. And even what I'm looking at in creating for dishes.
Mm-hmm.
And part of that for me is I've pulled hard away from pastas because, I mean, that's a heavy carbohydrate and starch, and starches aren't bad, but moderation is good, and, you know, maybe pasta once or twice a month kind of thing for me.
Having kids really makes you think about that stuff a lot more. Like, for instance, I don't know if, I mean, not to gross anybody out, but if your kids can't go to the bathroom and all they're eating is pasta, it could be because all they're eating is pasta and they need to eat some good whole grain bread, you know, some good whole grains and fruit and veggies and stuff, because there's been that little problem in my little tiny circle. And so trying to be more conscious, because I feel bad, because that's my fault. She doesn't feed herself. I feed her. I mean, not literally like spoon fed, but I'm responsible for her. And that makes diet and thinking about nutrition, to me, pretty imperative.
Yeah, and I mean, I've been trying to find ways to make the dishes kid friendly, but also keep sneaking things in. Like, when I started all of this, everyone in my family was like, oh, colored peppers are the worst. Like, sweet peppers.
Oh.
They never liked them in any food.
Yeah.
Well, I started sneaking them into things. And now I'll start cutting up sweet peppers. And there's my daughter going, hi, did you cut some up for me?
Oh, good.
And she steals a handful and gives one to the guinea pig. And I'm nibbling on them.
That's so cute.
It is. It really is. But I mean, it's things like that where it's, okay, well, how can I make it colorful? Like, I like making the food we eat colorful if I can. How can I make it healthy?
Mm-hmm.
And how can I make it kid-friendly?
Yeah.
And I haven't figured everything out, but I'm having fun with that.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying that. Now, I say this in a week where we've only had one home-cooked meal.
Yeah.
But that's the nature of what this week has been.
Yeah.
Which, I'm going to push off one more. I do also want to talk about that and the weight loss and stuff.
I want you to talk too, for sure.
Well, I know. And I'm saving my stuff because yours is the longer journey. Mine is it's shorter but more controversial journey. And
interesting.
Yes, I've had liposuction. No, I haven't. I'm kidding.
So while we're on the topic of kids and stuff, I can't stress enough, something I never thought about before was the example that our diet and our attitude towards food and our attitude towards being active and getting out there, that influences our kids a lot. And so if the only snack I ever bring out is chips, and the only snack they see me eating is chips, then their go-to is going to be chips, because that's their treat. Snacks are like a treat, like special, like they beg for snacks. So if I put out a plate of cucumbers and salt the heck out of it and put out some ranch dressing, that becomes, I mean, they still would prefer sugar, but trying to make it like, guys, come in, I got some cucumbers, yay! You know, it just sort of changes the attitude towards food a little bit.
Yeah, and, you know, I'm saying that in my family is I'm evaluating how I'm eating, how I have been eating. And it is neat. I also have to say this, I loved it because it was, wow, this is a neat little kind of bump in my journey.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking to my mother the other day, and she and I were talking through some things, and she goes, oh, and I have this recipe you need to try. It was neat because here's my mother who Rob can't cook and is now, oh, here's a recipe for you to try, because last time we were down, I got a bunch of family recipes that I've loved from her, because I'm trying to consolidate into one recipe book that is currently missing from my desk. That's an issue. Oh, it's not. There it is. Woo! I'm trying to consolidate all of our family recipes and favorites, and yeah, it's neat thinking about that. It's neat working on what
cool.
what it is and how it plays into my long-term health, my family's long-term health.
Mm-hmm.
Of even doing things to try and trick my kids into, you actually do like sweet peppers. No, you actually do like cucumber, or
Yeah. I have a 2-year-old who I can't really. I don't know how to get him to eat veggies at all. I mean, to what extent do you have a standoff? You know, to what extent do you stand your ground with a 2-year-old about a cucumber? You know, it's tough. But he eats fruit.
Yeah, 2-year-old. Well, stick with the fruit.
Yeah.
I have to say with my 11 and my 8-year-old, almost 9-year-old, that standoff is still there.
Yeah.
To some degree. There are days where it's tough to get them to eat some days.
Mm-hmm.
And Ray can put away pancakes.
Mm-hmm.
He will put away a dozen pancakes and still be going strong. But put something with meat in it in front of him, and he picks at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
it's spaghetti and meatballs for my kids. They all come back for seconds for that, which is very rare for my daughters who eat like tiny little birds to get seconds of anything. But Robert, please share with me.
All right.
Share with me your journey.
So, I started my weight loss after you. I accidentally started losing weight in March.
Oh.
Entirely by accident. Where, technically I lost 10 pounds with the first half of March. And I don't count that in where I'm at. And I was like, oh. Well, that's interesting. And it was just in March, I was looking at kind of where my emotional health was, where I was, and I just said, you know what, I'm gonna cut nightcaps and 99% of the alcohol out of my life. Since March, I've had 5 drinks. I think it's 5 drinks, something like that. Where it's just I'm gonna eliminate it to anything that is not a special occasion or time with family.
Good. That's good.
And so just cutting that out in March, I lost 10 pounds.
Wow.
And I was like, well, so I saw that, and it was like, if I lost 10 pounds by just checking my emotional health on one thing,
yeah,
maybe there's more I can do. And maybe it's not as hard as I think. And so that's kind of where my journey is understanding where I'm at in my head, in my emotion, in my thought. And so I determined, did research, had some very careful and intentional conversations, because what I'm doing as a diet is intermittent fasting.
Yeah, that's cool. I've done it.
And it's working for me.
Yeah, it's good.
And part of the reason it's working for me is I don't do well with like calorie counting diet.
Mm-hmm.
Because I will sit down, I will have the allotted calories, and I'll still be hungry. I can't be fed and hungry.
What you're saying is really interesting about the calories, but continue with the intermittent fasting. We're going to put a little note there.
All right, a little note.
Yeah.
I couldn't be hungry and fed at the same time. I couldn't have that dual state in my head. So it was, I wrestled in high school. I did weight loss really badly back then. I call it seasonally anorexic.
Ugh.
Because, I graduated high school and I was just over 120 pounds.
Yeah.
Mel saw pictures of me from back then, and I'm skin and bones. It's,
Yeah.
So I didn't do it well, but I can do hungry well. I know I can do hungry well. So looking at that, it was, I think I can do an intermittent fasting diet. I think I can do it well. And I have, it's technically called the Warriors diet, where you have a 4-hour window where you can eat a day and 20 hours where you don't.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm getting that ketosis state in that 20-hour window.
That's a lot of willpower. Good for you. That's awesome. That's intense.
In the beginning, it was a little hard. I'm back to hard again, and I'll explain that. But I got the hang of it. It took like 2 weeks to figure out. And as soon as I had it balanced out, as soon as I had it figured out, I started dropping. Not like unhealthily quickly, but at a good pace. And just as I've been doing this diet, I do Monday to Saturday, I do it in that 20 and 4 cycle. And then Sundays, I do a 16 and 8 cycle. So 16 hours no food, 8-hour eating window. And that's just because of what my Sundays are traditionally.
Yeah.
But that first week, this is a hilarious story out of that. That first week, and this is also where I began to understand even further of what I eat in that 4-hour window is really important.
Mm-hmm.
The first Sunday after the first week of the intermittent fasting, we got up, we went to church, we did our church routine, and one of the things that my kids and my wife like to do occasionally is to get donuts from this really, really good donut shop we have here in town. So, all right, fine. We picked up donuts, but I was still outside of my eating window. But there were a few left when we got home from church, so I had one of those to break my fast. It was like I was high, drunk, and hangry all at once because of the donut.
Wow.
Mel was worried for me because I was a little bit on the trippy, are you okay side? And just the flood of sugars threw me off.
Yeah.
And what that was, because I had not broken a fast in that way for the week. And
I think that's kind of like putting gasoline on a fire.
Yeah, and it gave me context of, okay, wait a minute. It's not just about getting this ketosis through not eating. It's also about what I am eating to make a difference in how I'm fueling my body. And that second week I did research on, okay, what are some good things? I've been leaning heavier into protein-rich diets and foods as best as I can.
Good.
You know, I'm fortifying areas of not eating with things like I can technically eat, but up to 150 calories of something protein rich. So like 2 hard-boiled eggs.
Doesn't that break ketosis? Well, actually,
Heavy in protein.
Okay, yeah, because, well, that's exactly it, is what's going to break ketosis is a carbohydrate or sugar. So that's technically correct. If you have eggs or meat or an avocado, yeah, you're not breaking ketosis. So technically what you're doing is absolutely ketogenic.
Right, and that's what I've been researching of, okay, I'm getting my body into this state of ketosis, or whatever it's pronounced as, and I'm maintaining it through things that are protein rich. Even in the evenings where there's sugar involved, there are carbohydrates involved in my meals, but I'm trying to be more heavy on protein rich things.
Yeah.
Which again, I mean, that's affected how I cook. That's affected what I've done. Even couple back towards Easter, I started experimenting with, because it's not a bad sweet treat, but how do you make meringues? Because those are 25 calories, and while they're heavy in sugar, you know, a couple of those are good. You know, they're about 25 calories a pop, so that's a nice little sweet treat at the end of dinner kind of thing. So, and it's been interesting to see how this has played out, because the biggest key that I have found is monitoring and maintaining my emotional health.
Yeah.
More than my calorie intake.
Yeah.
Because when I'm emotionally in a weird spot, my diet goes weird.
Yep. I second that.
Yeah, and this week has been one of those weeks for me. Because Sunday my sister was in an accident, and just all of that drama played out, so I figured out that if I hit pause on my diet, if I have like bare minimums that maintain the diet, if I hit pause and just maintain those bare minimums, I'll be okay. And that's what this week was for me, where I hit pause, I actually saw my weight go back up, where I'm just shy, not counting that original 10 pounds, I'm just shy of the 30-pound mark.
Awesome!
But I went back up to, hitting that, oh, I've lost 20 pounds. Great. Now, that's okay, because I know, like, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday were days that I did the bare minimum to maintain the diet. And I'm getting back into that. And the advantage of it is when I get back into it, what I do put on burns off pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like the deep layers of fat that I'm fighting. It's just fluff.
Yeah.
That burns off within a couple days of getting back into the diet. I'm back to just shy of 30 pounds now. And, it's just understanding that emotional health for me.
Yeah.
Where, the bits and pieces fall in after the emotional health for me in evaluating what I'm eating. And once I get to an ideal, what I'm going to consider closer to my ideal weight, the diet will change. It'll go to like a 18 and 6 hour cycle. And then when I get to the maintenance level, it'll be an 8 and 16 hour cycle.
Mm-hmm.
That's the plan. I was getting uncomfortably close. I wasn't like there. I wasn't within 10 pounds of there, but I was getting uncomfortably close to a rather large number. And it was, I think I need to make some changes.
Yeah, I hear you.
And, the accidentally stumbling into dieting and then unpacking what is my emotional health bit by bit and talking through things with Mel, where I'm at, what's going on. Which, that has been interesting as well, because between podcasting and then unpacking this piece of my life, I'm being more communicative with Mel on what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, what I'm going through. So, that's where I'm at.
That's good. And it's convicting too, because, I think if I quit alcohol, I know that's sort of the next step for me, is I need to quit alcohol or cut way back, because if I could do it once a week instead of like every other day, that'd be awesome. And because it's sort of an emotional, like, and it's not great. And it does, alcohol stops ketosis.
Yes.
And beer is a carb, so beer is the devil. And I definitely, I don't drink as much beer, but but anyway, my point is, if I'm really serious, that's really the next thing I need to do, is get more, is cut the alcohol out.
See, now I had a few beers this week just because of trying to balance out everything that happened, where, what was going on with our family life. Again, that's part of me kind of doing that bare minimum, where it's, a drink, and understanding why I'm having a drink, understanding what this will do with my diet, has put me in a better spot with it. And I can have a drink just because, I could use a breath, a pause, and using things like that to instill more pauses than escapism.
Yeah.
Where it's okay, let's pause, let's sit with this, and let's have a drink.
Yeah.
Which is the same thing I do, where I'll have cigars occasionally, and it's the same thing I do with that. So it's putting it into that, let's pause, let's process, let's pray.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that. Pause, process, pray.
PPP. Hey, yeah, and
You just made it weird.
I'm an escapist. That's why I read Star Wars, and that's why I drink, and because I just like to step back and get out of things, and I know that.
I have moments where I'm an escapist, and I understand that, but I also know that, again, for me, I can't. I get too far into escapism, I'm gone. So, and again, it's seeking balance in all things. Yeah, it's been good. It has been a challenge of, the biggest challenge to it has been understanding what are the emotional triggers. How much of my evening eating a bag of chips is boredom, and how much of it is I just want to curl into the couch and cry.
Yeah.
Okay, well, why do I feel these ways? What's going on? What are the deeper triggers?
Yeah.
So
I totally get that.
But
we live with my in-laws. We sort of share responsibility over the estate. And my father-in-law, when he goes to the store, he shops basically only for junk food. So we have a ton of junk food in the house, and it makes it really difficult sometimes. Especially when he learns that I like a thing, he buys that thing. And I have to yell at him and say, you can't buy this thing anymore because I eat the thing. But when you live by yourself, it's easier to just not buy the stuff that's your guilty pleasure, because I can't handle temptation, so I can't have the stuff in the house.
I actually got in trouble for that. Funny story from early start of dieting. Easter was coming up, and still navigating some of what it is to be hungry, and because I really want to write a book, just my year as a housewife, because I've been the one home, I've been the one doing stuff, and balancing, working from home, balancing kids, dinners, all of that, which has been great. But early in the dieting, Easter was coming up, and Mel didn't have time to go out and do the Easter candy shopping, so that fell to me. And there are 2 great candy stores in town. I'm not allowed to do Easter candy shopping anymore. I came back with 5 bags of Easter candy. I was vicariously living through my wife and kids. And, I want to eat this and this and this with Easter. I want this kind of candy. I didn't even connect this until Mel's going through all the Easter candy going, you bought 30 pounds of your Easter candy. I guess. I mean, I had one of those, big boxes of Cadbury eggs. There are 2 people in the house that like Cadbury eggs. One of them's me. But we figured it out, and it was understanding again of, okay, so I have to be in a spot where I can consider and go with a list.
Yes.
When I do grocery shopping. Because again, it's what is the emotional side of my brain going, I just want to sit and eat a box of nutty bars versus, well, what is healthy, what is good, which again has been this cookbook that I put energy into of trying to consolidate. What are the good things? What are the what are the highlights?
Absolutely.
So
choices.
Yeah. And oh man, they suck. Yeah. But it's been good kind of unpacking that. And honestly, I feel like I'm in a better place. Emotionally, I've been in a better place. And some of that even does come down to the podcasting, where I'm starting to think through things in different ways and having conversations with Mel of what we could do in the podcast, having conversations with you, processing through kind of this open window into life that's in a weird spot. Yeah.
I'm with you.
All good things, but yeah. So, anything else? Any questions, thoughts? Oh, I did want to talk about this, and then you had a little note you wanted to talk about. I asked how you count your poundage, your weight loss. For me, I've been undone where if I have a week, I've had 3 weeks now where I've been at the same weight. I always get stuck. I always get stuck when the number ends in a 5 or a 6. I stick there. I don't know why. And in that little graph, weight loss, stop. Weight loss, stop. So, don't know why I stick there, but I do. So I've gotten to the point where how I count my weight loss is I do one official weigh-in day. That's my weight. I'll monitor it throughout the week, and then when I give my weight, I always give it in 10-pound increments. I don't do it by pound. Because if I do it by pound, it's a mental game I'm playing with myself. Because it's, I gained 3 pounds. Oh, I lost 3 pounds. That I gained the... So I've been doing it in 10-pound increments where it's, I've almost lost 30 pounds. Well, that's 29.5 pounds. And that's where I'm giving myself permission to say, I've almost lost 30 pounds. Or I'm just over 20 pounds. I've lost 27.6 pounds, Yeah, I'm playing it in 10-pound increments because it's a mental game for me. of not focusing on the individual up and down of a daily.
Yeah. Well, I only write down my losses. I take note on my weight, but I only write it down when I lose because it's encouraging. And I know it fluctuates, and it's just like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to write down my failures. I want to write down my success.
Yeah, and it's... Right, and I've been trying to balance out what is that fluctuation, what is that failure, how do I account for that in a way that is positive?
Yeah. But I encourage you on your intermittent fasting. That's pretty cool. And I will say that eating high protein, high fat, 0 to no carbs, I am hungry so much less. I will eat 2 eggs at 8 a.m. and not be hungry till like 2 p.m. And that, when you eat carbs, you're hungry again in 2 or 3 hours, maybe, and you feel crappy. You feel that low blood sugar. I haven't felt that since
Sugar
going no
shake,
carb.
Yeah. And that's what I did that first week when I ate that donut, where it was I crashed my system with sugar. And it was just, again, okay, I need to be leaning into things that are protein rich. I need to be leaning into things that aren't going to put me in the spot of sugar shakes.
There's another good documentary. I'm gonna put this we'll put this in the show notes, but it's called That Sugar Film, and that's also on Prime, and it's really good. It's about the super fit guy who looks great and very active, and him and his wife eat super well. They don't eat sugar. They don't eat much sugar. They eat really well, good diet. And he does an experiment where he eats 40 grams of sugar a day, and it's all like, quote, healthy food, healthy sugar, like healthy granola bars and healthy juices and protein shakes. And, so it's not like he's going to eat ice cream or eating candy bars to get that 40 grams of sugar. It's all stuff that is just in your diet. It's just in the American diet. And it's about his 40-day, what he looks like, how he feels, his nutrition. It goes through all kinds of different analysis of what happens to him over that 40 days. But it's fascinating, and it's about sugar.
That does sound interesting. And, hey, for those of you listening, you do you. Figure out what your balance is, what your needs are, and again, talk to professionals, communicate. Look at ways that, you can do it healthily for you. Because, yeah, and Lindsay, you being down 35 pounds is incredible. Great job.
Thank you, and same to you, Robert.
I'm proud of you. Yeah.
Good job. Keep it up.
I got to get past that stick point because that's where I'm at. I'm stuck.
And there's also this little thing called non-scale victories. And those include things like being able to fit into your pants again and looking darn well better in that shirt than you used to, or getting compliments at church. People saying, "Hey, have you lost weight?" And you can say, "Yes, I have. Thank you for noticing." That's a non-scale victory.
All right, we need to talk about that for a minute. I entirely forgot about those. We need to talk about that. Stupidly, okay? I have a belt. I love this belt. I've had this belt for like 8 years now, okay? It's a good, thick, true leather, whole thing belt. It's barely holding my pants up anymore. And if I don't wear a belt now, because I've been losing weight, my pants keep falling. Like, I am not okay with this. I love this belt. Yeah. So I gotta get a hole punch in the next
and maybe
week
new
or so
pants.
So I can actually make a new hole in the belt.
I know it's scary. It's scary to buy new pants that are a size down because you're like, what if this is just a fluke? What if I spend $15 on a pair of pants and then like I just gain weight again in a week or 2 weeks or a month?
So I'm actually kind of okay with this at the moment because Mel cleaned out the closet last weekend. She finally just got sick of it and cleaned the closet out. And found a whole bunch of my old shorts from like 8 years ago that I didn't fit in, that I now fit in. Yeah, I don't remember why, but I picked up a new shirt in the past week, and my shirts have been 2X, and they now they're starting to look like tents on me. So I bought a shirt that was an extra large. I was like, this feels weird.
Yeah.
This is good, but is this gonna fit?
I mean, we don't have to get into it, but you feel sexier, don't you? It helps.
Sexier's not a thing for me. I'm not like,
so maybe it's just a girl thing then, but I feel much more confident, and I do feel sexier, and I gotta say, it's a nice feeling. It's a nice feeling. I know you're a pastor. Maybe you're not supposed to admit that you have sexy feelings.
Oh. Okay, if we're going to talk about pastors and sexy feelings, there are some pastors I know out there who, I mean, like, dude, just shut up. No. There are some, and anyway, no, sexy's not a thing for me with how I feel, but we've talked about this in the past where I've got a bad knee. My bad knee hasn't been aggravating me as I've been losing weight. It really hasn't, and I felt stronger. Like, yeah, I keep feeling stronger as I keep losing weight. And it was enough that it was like last week, the kids were ready for bed. We pray with them every night before they go to bed. And Mel and I were goofing off, and I don't even remember what we were joking with. I was like, well, fine. And I scooped her up, and I carried her in my arms. I haven't been able to do that because my knee would collapse. Just with that, she's not heavy, but with her weight and my weight, which was the bigger issue, my knee would collapse. But I was able to just scoop her up like that and carry her, and my knee was fine. I was fine. And it was, as I've lost weight, I haven't felt sexier.
That's good.
I felt stronger. I felt faster and clearer. And I haven't added workouts into my routine yet. I'm waiting to once I get past the 30-pound mark, that's where I'm going to start adding workouts in, because I want to have this nice kind of crossing nexus of the fat going down and the muscle mass going up.
Yep. Just think about your heart. Like, your heart is a muscle, and that has to get stronger. Like, that's what I'm thinking about. I've been doing running. I say running, I mean like a jog. And what I think about is trying to get my heart stronger so that my blood can carry more oxygen and I can be more efficient. And then I can, to me, that's a big improvement of health. Not even just thinking about calories burned, because I kind of think that's not super good science, actually. Again, check out that book because it's interesting. But just getting your muscles more efficient and carrying your blood cells carrying oxygen, and your heart getting faster, beating stronger.
Well, and I've found that even as again, not adding in the workout routines yet, that as I've gone down in weight, my heart rate's gone down. I'm not getting as winded doing things around the house, or doing things with the kids, or doing things at youth group. Again, my health is improving as the weight goes down. And I'm not even doing things that are intentionally built to that yet. It's there. It's in the plan, but it's not there yet.
Good for you.
So, hey, and good for you. I mean, you're doing the jogging and the working out, and you're doing that better than I am right now, which is to be commended. But, again, that's the difference of the journeys. Because I'm trying to balance what is the bad knee into all of this, where it's okay, once I'm at this weight, I think I can start, pushing my knee further than I have.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because when I've tried to do these things in the past at the weight I was, I'll get like 2 weeks before my knee just blows out. And if you get hurt
and aren't listening to your body, that is completely working against your efforts. So if you twist an ankle or hurt your knee, now you're screwed. So taking it easy and listening to your body is totally the way to go.
And that's I'm trying to balance that. You're doing well with balancing that with, what is it that's going to work. So,
well, I gotta get out of here, but
I do too.
But it was a good talk, and I'm looking forward to editing and listening to it
so
again.
You're
I'm
editing
gonna edit
this
week. You've been awesome. You've been doing great, but I'll take a week and get back.
All
to
right. Well, hey, it's been good having you back. It's been good doing these conversations again. Yes.
All right. Good luck. Have a great day.
Thank you for listening to the 42 podcast. Please take a moment to like and subscribe, and if you want to join in on the conversation, you can find us on Facebook and Twitter to add your voice to the conversation. Thank you.